Hi. Welcome to Fort Atkinson. Have you been to Fort Atkinson before?
Hi, nice to meet you.
And your name's Joan? Joan?
Yep, Joan. Hi. Okay, are you remember? Okay, if you recognize the one with the blonde hair, I'll be amazed.
That's Linda Dunn.
Oh my God!
And you're Dan Morgan.
Yes.
Hi, it's nice to see you again. I'm sorry I didn't say anything in the elevator to you, and I assume that's your wife.
Yeah, it's
Hi, I
Cordelia.
didn't recognize
You maybe didn't have your
And
coffee
that's
yet.
Julie,
I know, I still do. I'm still
my
Julie.
wife Cordelia.
Okay.
My husband's saying I shouldn't drive before I have my coffee, and I'm starting to believe it.
She went for a walk. She had to go to Dunkin' Donuts and get a triple
This
espresso or
is
something.
Audrey, my wife.
Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Julie. Hi.
Julie, hi.
Hi.
Oh, God.
So where are we? Can we go inside?
Yeah, come on in.
So this
You're-
is Steve. He's our tour guide.
I'm your tour
for this.
guide, and I can answer any question you want about this whole project.
Okay.
But I'll give you guys, when we
Wonderful.
get the whole group here, I'll give you a
Okay,
little.
I don't know who else is coming because
There's two more people walking up.
There are?
Okay.
Perfect. Who's coming?
I was kind of
Bill-
thinking
Oh,
that
Sharon's
there'd be a little
worked
place
out pretty
somewhere
easy.
to
Sister
park.
Kelly, what we got here?
And I thought, do I park in their car or what?
She'll always be. You know, everybody will always be.
Yeah, or does that go back to a
And
parking
I suppose all of the
spot?
above
Town
would have been
food.
fine.
That's easy.
That is.
Why is it easy?
Because you don't have a maiden name and that you
Ah.
don't
Yeah,
remember
yeah.
the married name.
Of course, I've seen the list of that name.
And then I've changed my name.
For years now, so
Yeah.
I got that. But it's still, you still alphabetize under, oh, Joan Ott Baker, not under the B's, because I would never know otherwise.
So, does anybody have heard of Chris Kirschensteiner? Because I know she lives here. Does she not participate?
She has not.
She lives in Fort?
Yeah.
I'm
I
a
didn't know that.
Facebook
She lives in
voyeur,
the
that's
old
the only reason I'm
courthouse
on
on
it.
the hill.
Right, right. And that was her grandma, I think her grandmother's house, Mary Horn. I think that was her grandmother.
Mary Ford and Mark Kirchensteiner's mother were sisters.
Oh, so it's yeah, well, yeah, that'd be her
Yeah.
grandmother's.
So-
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think she's a lawyer.
Yes.
I don't know that she's still practicing, is she?
I believe so in Madison.
Oh. Yeah, I think she's actually a lawyer for like,
Disabilities.
yeah, social causes kinds of things. So good for her. Well, okay.
Well, I'll give you guys a quick
This is
nickel
Steve.
tour. Hi, I'm Steve Mode. Let's see, you guys are, let's see, I had a sister, but I think Linda Mode was.
It's a year ahead of us.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so. Yeah, I think hers
Yeah.
was last year. Well, anyway, this is Haumerson's Pond. A little bit different than what you guys remember. How many people skated on Haumerson's Pond? Okay, and we're forming a club called I Bled on Haumerson Pond. How many people? Yeah, you know, everybody did. Well, you know, with Haumerson's Pond, it was a place that was really special to me as a kid. You know, this is where we grew up. And my grandmother, you know, my dad grew up about 6 doors up the hill and he lived here. And so after he died, you know, I just had this vision because the park was in a ruin. You know, it was just a mess. They didn't do anything, there's no skating, you know, nothing going on down here.
No skating.
Yep, yeah, there was nothing. And so the pond is actually, it was washed out between here and the Bark River. And so the water level fluctuated tremendously. So there's actually 30 inches more water in the pond than when you guys were kids. Because it's been,
Dredged it out?
we didn't dredge it, we actually raised the level of the pond. We fixed a breach that was, there's a little thin isthmus between this and the Bark River. And so we were able to repair that, and that's been bad since the 60s. And, you know, we've met some terrific.
Can you get in here off the river then if you were in a kayak or a canoe?
You'd have to portage over about 8 feet.
Okay, 'cause that's why I
You know,
couldn't find
well, let's see,
nobody.
a month and a half ago, you could. Yeah,
Well, I
that's-
kind of wait for the water to go down,
Yeah.
at least you can at least see the island over there.
Exactly. So, you know, right now it's at the level where it will stay. But we had a dream to bring this park back to life and bring skating back to Fort Atkinson. And last winter, we had 41 days of skating here, that we had open skating with the shelter staffed, which we're pretty proud of. Everything you see here, 85% is volunteer labor. When you guys go inside, this looks neat. And what's really cool is to see people go downstairs and they see the fireplace and they say, hey, this is really cool. Then they go upstairs and they go, oh, wow. You know, we designed the building. It's Well, this was, well, I like my quiz here. Why is this pond here? Does anybody know?
Well, I read the sign, so.
Yeah, oh, you read the sign, okay.
Oh,
You know, why is Haumerson's Pond here, and why is it named Haumerson's Pond?
Well, I'm assuming for somebody.
Yep, a guy by the name of William F. Haumerson, who was a local brick maker. This was the brickyard. When you go up the hill and see the water tower, in 1901, 100% of those brick came out of this pond. This is where they mined the clay that made the brick that built Fort Atkinson. So downtown, almost all those buildings are Haumerson Pond brick. You know, and it's this cream-colored brick, which is pretty unique to this area of the country. And these are all recovered brick, and these are actually, it's kind of funny, these are actually Kemeter brick. They came from the Kemeter Brickyard in Jefferson. They were actually Michael Kemeter's brick, but Michael Kemeter is a guy who trained Mr. Haumerson in how to make brick. So we, you know, it's kind of funny. My claim to fame, I want it to be that I was the only person who ever got a City of Jefferson backhoe to load a Fort Atkinson dump truck. You know, so they gave us 22 truckloads of brick, glass, wood, you name it. They tore down some houses and they dumped them in the compost site, and we used volunteers to clean 17,000 brick for this.
Oh my
And they came
How do you clean it?
with brick. You have brick and it's got mortar stuck on it, and you take a chisel or a hammer and you knock the mortar off of it. And we
That's how my
put a
parents
call
put
out.
brick on their cottage.
Yep, and it's tedious, and it's hot, and it's all that good stuff.
Yeah.
But the neat thing was with this project is how the community came out for it. You know, we had all these piles of brick, and we put a call out in the newspaper and on social media, and we had 65 people show up the first day to clean brick. We cleaned 7,000 brick on a Saturday morning, and it was just amazing that happened, and that's the way this project has been all the way through. You know, all the wood, everything here was all done volunteer. We had people donate space and everything, and money. You know, there's, because we're in the floodplain, there's the engineering, you know, we designed the building. We literally designed it ourselves, and 100% of the people who worked on it are all local people. And which is really kind of unique in this day and age. And I'm going to say all but one contractor we had to hire donated at least 25% of the original bid back to the project because they liked it, you know, which is kind of unheard of. But so we brought skating back to Fort Atkinson. The pond, you can see we have a little battle with duckweed. And our next project, duckweed is that green stuff that floats on the top of the pond. We're told that we have a very healthy pond, but this duckweed gets trapped in here and it blooms because of people fertilizing their yards. Because all the storm sewers from High Street on down here, everything runs into the pond. So we're in the process now of working with the city to see if we can make a rain garden or something to divert that to keep the nitrogen out of the pond, and that would make a big difference.
do you have, is that called the blue-green algae or not?
No, this isn't blue-green algae.
Yeah,
No,
then it's safer, you know, the
Yeah.
blue-green is good.
yeah, you could swim in here, but you might come out with a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's hard to fish. This is actually worse this year than it was last year. Yeah, when it freezes, it's kind of interesting because there are plants in there and everything. We've got a lot of fish in here. But when we were up on the roof building this thing, the pond, when I was a kid, the pond was always pea soup in the summer. It was just ugly. If you part that, you can see right down to the bottom. It's very, very clean.
Wow.
And there are big fish in there. You know, when we were working here, putting the roof on, we had, you know, there were 30-inch northern taken out of here, which is really kind of fun, you know.
Really?
Well, the neat thing is once they get into Haumerson's Pond, their get out of jail free card comes next spring when the water goes over the wall. But here, come on in.
Could you skim that duckweed off and use it as like garden fertilizer?
I believe you could,
Okay.
you know, but
I love your passion about this and that the whole community came
it is.
I love the passion.
I get emotional about it.
I feel that.
Yeah.
I can feel that. Yeah.
Because it was just a fun project to throw it out there, and then to have an event here. We do a night ski event. We've got, well, see,
fun.
the other thing that people don't know about Haumerson's Pond, you know how big the park is. I didn't know this until I started.
No.
You know, we came down here saying we're gonna build a building, it turned into this building, and this park is 107 acres.
Oh, wow.
107 acres. We have 4.5 miles of ski trails. The only place in the county that you can cross-country ski with your dog off leash.
Cool.
and snowshoe trails. I call it the urban wilderness. You're never out of Fort Atkinson, but it goes, many of you are familiar with Bark River Road.
Yeah.
And right when you turn on the Bark River Road, the river kind of makes a little bend there, and there's a peninsula that comes out. That's all part of this park. And so we invite people to come out there. We try to get a lot of people. There's a very nice trail that's available when it's not flooded, but there's about a mile trail that you can walk that's really a nice trail, and a lot of people come down here to walk dogs and to just get away from things. And it's really, really fun.
I'm just curious, with this deck out here, how do people get to the pond to skate?
On both ends, we have a ramp. And the ramp is made to hinge to go with the ice, because the ice is always fluctuating.
Oh, sure.
So we have that pulled out now. But then in the winter, we come back and we put the ramp on with railings, and it works out nice.
Nice.
Yeah, our night ski event usually attracts 500 to 800
Oh my
people.
gosh. Wow.
And then we do a haunted trail event where we take, and we do all that because everything that we've done here, we've had to raise the money. The city's been fantastic in giving us resources and things like that, but their budgets are tight. So before we did anything, we formed a nonprofit, the Friends of Haumerson's Pond are nonprofit, and we raised all the money for the building. And what you see sitting here, even with all the volunteer labor, is over $400,000.
Wow.
There's $56,000 worth of concrete underground here because we're in the floodplain, and so it's been interesting, everybody like, how can it be that expensive? And when I went into it, I thought, shoot, there's no way it can be that expensive. But when you start dealing with commercial stuff, we had to put in our own lift station, because we're lower than the sewer, so we had to put in a lift that gets all that stuff up there. Oh, that's the other thing. How many people here remember skating at Haumerson's Pond and using a real live bathroom? It's amazing. There has never been a bathroom here. They had ice skating here from the 1920s until it fell apart in the 1990s.
outdoor.
And I've yet to find anybody who say there was a bathroom here. Yeah, I was lucky my grandma lived up the street, but I think the trees got watered here an awful lot. But, it's kind of funny, and the evolution of the whole thing. In 1917 is when the city bought this from the Fort Atkinson Brick Manufacturing Company. And on the 1919 plat book, Haumerson's Pond is lovingly referred to as a city septic tank. So we joke that there's never been a bathroom here, but it was the bathroom. So, but it's come alive, And then our haunted trail event, we ran not quite 5,000 people through that. It's another community thing where we get families, businesses, social groups to haunt a section of trail. And then we do it for a donation. Everything we do is donation because we don't want a family to come down here. You go to a lot of haunted houses and it's like $20-25 a head. You got a 5-person family, that's ridiculous. So we just ask for donations, and we'll make $7,000 or $8,000 that we use for staffing the building, or for we bought equipment to get snow off the pond. We got an ATV with a broom and things like that, and it's just really remarkable. But come on in.
So where did the
And we do
trail
have
start?
bathrooms.
I always wanted to come down here and hike, but I never know where the trail starts.
Oh, well, they've got,
But when we were here last year, they said they could swing up the.
You must be Matt.
hi Matt, how are you? How you been? How you been?
Good. My wife Marty.
Marty, how are you?
This is amazing.
Well, I never knew this existed, so.
And these two are here, so this is 100% floodplain. So we had to figure out, how do we do this building, and not be a burden on the city. So the doors, you'll see where all the brick goes and our posts on the outside. The posts on the outside are 1 foot higher than the 2008 flood, which is the absolute benchmark flood year. That was a 500-year flood.
Oh, yeah.
So the water would have been this high in this building in 2008.
Wow.
And so we made everything so there's no wood that touches that. It's all concrete and steel. And we designed it to open up these doors. So these doors, right now they're rolled to the side, but we made the hardware so that those doors can swing up so they don't get wet. We let the water run through the building. Obviously we take all this stuff upstairs and then we come in and clean it up when we're all done.
That's amazing.
And the heat in the building, this is in-floor radiant heat.
Oh my God.
You remember sitting in the
Can I
old
move
green
in?
shack over here,
my
your feet
God.
were cold. You had the wood burning stove with your wool mittens on there. You can smell that burning wool.
That's right.
And your feet were frozen.
All the time.
And
I moved to Arizona.
so the kids got it made nowadays because they can come in here and sit on the benches and put their feet on the floor. And the floor is heated to a nice about 97, 98 degrees. And it really does work out very, very nice.
How do you protect the heat from the flooded waters? Because the seeds gonna crack here.
Well, anytime you have concrete, you end up with cracks. Okay, so inside this floor is 6 inches thick. There's 1.5 inches of insulation underneath it to prevent the heat from going down. And there's radiant tubing in here. There's PEX tubing that runs in the floor.
But then the water doesn't destroy it.
Nope, it's all caught in the floor, and so it can't do anything. And then underneath all of that is all stone, and then we have pipes that run that stone to the pond. So if anything gets underneath the building, it just runs back out to the pond.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's been a pretty cool, very, very cool project.
Well thought out.
And they have, there were a lot of nights. It was Craig Roost and I are the ones who really, thought it up and designed the building. And we're both guys who don't sleep a lot, and you do a lot of thinking when you're laying in bed. So it wasn't unusual to get a text at 2:30 in the morning. Hey, what do you think of this? And then we get going back and forth, and both of our wives would go, "You guys, just get out of here." But it's been fun.
What's your background that you would be able to put this together? It looks like engineering and construction.
Yeah, well, my dad was a contractor here in Fort Atkinson, and so I was a contractor, and then I went into the fire service. So I've got 32 years in the fire service, but the whole time I was doing that, my days off, I was a contractor.
Yeah,
And so
gradient.
I like getting out of the box. I don't like your typical stuff.
Yeah.
And so with this building, this is a lot of very, very different stuff. And then Craig Roost, some of you who may have driven Highway 26 and the Glacial Drumlin Bike Trail, there's a covered bridge down there. That was Craig's first project. He built that bridge, raised the money for it. And I remember him coming to my house, "Hey Steve, I think I want to build a covered bridge." I said, "Well, that's cool, And so he launched his career, and he's been a barn builder ever since, where he goes out and rebuilds barns for people. And he's just got a passion for the old stuff. And we did this building. When I get upstairs, I'll show you. But we did it with tools from the 1800s. We didn't go that modern way where it was easy, We used chisels and axes and stuff like that.
Well, even the bricklaying in that fireplace is incredible.
Yeah, Jim Brock, Midwest Masonry in town.
Oh my
He was the
God.
first contractor who signed up for this. It was kind of funny how it evolved. We went to the Park and Rec Board of Directors to pitch this idea. Hey, we want to put a community-built building at Haumerson Pond and bring skating back. So we're telling them about the project and the plan. We weren't ready fundraising-wise to get things going for about 2 weeks, so the plan was to keep it mum for 2 weeks and then go. So the very next day, I'm at home and I get a call from this Jim Brock. "Steve, why didn't you tell me about this?" I go, "Well, what are you talking about?" "Haumerson's Pond." He says, "I want to be involved." And I go, "Well, how do you know about it?" He says, "It's on the front page of the newspaper." Of course, So he came in and he said, "I want to be a part of it." His kids like to skate. He likes the history. And so he came down here and we cleaned all the brick for him, and he and his brother and his dad laid them. And it was kind of fun.
Where did the brick come from?
The brick came from the Kemeter Brickyard, actually in Jefferson. These are Jefferson brick, but don't tell anybody. No, up in Jefferson, people might remember on County N going out of town, if you go by the Jefferson Dairy Queen, there were 2 brick houses and a blacksmith shop that sat very close to the road. In 2008, those homes were damaged by the 2008 flood because they were in the floodplain. And they were the home of Michael Kemeter, who owned the Kemeter Brickyard, who trained William F. Haumerson to make bricks. And so when those buildings were coming down, the city engineer up there, I was friends with her, and she knew that I have a passion for Cream City brick. My whole house is the old brick. And she said, "Do you know anybody who'd have a use for that?" Like, absolutely. Because we were just hatching this idea. So we went to the city of Jefferson and pitched the idea to them and say, "Hey, we're doing this down in Fort Atkinson. We're going to be doing this on the brickyard. We're looking for brick." So they donated all of the brick to us, to do that. And it was pretty neat. And they did say, now you do know, Steve, that those are Kemeter brick going down to Fort Atkinson. And I told them I'd give them 4 visas a year to come down and look at them. So, no, you got to have a lot of fun with those guys. But it's been fantastic, just the cooperation between everybody. You know, the school district, you know, we're in the process now. As you guys can see, when you came in, you probably looked at this and said, where do I park? You know, it's just kind of odd, you know, the way the parking lot is, and the parking lot is poor. So we are right now taking down, there's a chain link fence up there, you can see the post. We're using volunteers to take that down right now. And very soon we will be putting in a real live parking lot here. And we're fundraising for pavement. You know, we're gonna have real blacktop and everything, and make this park really, really something, make it shine. And we're putting up a storage building because we're finding out, you can see, we end up with a lot of stuff, and they limited our footprint here, so there aren't many storage areas. We've got an ATV with a plow and a broom for getting snow off the pond and all those things, so we're amassing a lot of stuff. And then our haunted trail event, we have props for that. We have, you know, a lot of things like that. So we're going to put up a storage building with a little amphitheater that's going to be timber framed, not like the big beams that you see there. So people that have a party here, they'll be able to do that. And where all this driving stuff is, this is all going to become green space. We're going to have a water garden to collect our water before it runs into the pond, to hopefully get the, you know, pick up the nitrogen before it runs in there. And then another rain garden up on that upper level is going to run that way, and then another big rain garden there. And then, and then the other thing we're going to do, which is going to be really fun, is an ongoing fundraiser. Jim Brock is going to build us a wood-fired pizza oven. So we're going to have a wood-fired pizza oven down here, and then once a month, we want to have Haumerson Pond Night, where a certain Saturday night a month is Haumerson Pond Night, where we'll have entertainment down here, and people come down, and for a donation, you get your dough, you make your pizza, we put it in the wood-fired pizza oven, you bring your own beverages, and we just have a community night down here.
That'd be nice.
So, yeah, I think it'll be really, really neat. And that really stemmed from where I kind of got this idea up in Grand Marais, Minnesota, at a timber framer seminar. On Saturday night, we had 80 people in this class, and they fed 80 people in a half an hour. And they had a wood-fired pizza oven. And I thought, that is so cool. You know, you go and you have like an oversized ping pong paddle, you roll out your own dough, you put your own makings on, you put your cheese on, you grab your beer, you walk outside, you give a guy your paddle, and when your beer's about that far down, they give you your pizza back, and it's like, this is really cool, yeah, we gotta do this. So, but here, we'll take a run upstairs, I'll take a hop.
One thing you don't have yet is an elevator.
You know, people have asked us about that, but holy cow, fundraising for this was bad now.
Of course, Nancy's here.
Tom's asking a question about the wood in the building. 100% of the wood in this building came from the state of Wisconsin. We literally interviewed sawmills to get wood that came from Wisconsin, because we didn't want something from Louisiana brought up here and put into the building. So all of this was milled to our specs. You can see on the boards here, you see how these marks kind of come at an angle. If you go to any rough-sawn lumber nowadays, it's milled with a bandsaw, and so the lines go straight across. They don't have that same romance of an old-fashioned sawmill with a blade. So we drove around for 2 days, and we found a mill up in Menominee, Wisconsin, that could mill 40-foot beams with a round sawmill. And it was really cool to find that guy. And so he did a lot of our milling. For all the rough cut stuff, is Zach Jacobson's his name. He did all of our milling for those boards. And this was a stand of white pine that came from near Menominee, Wisconsin. And so everything here is milled green, which a lot of people find interesting. And if you look at it, you can see wooden pegs holding it together. This is done in the old world way. There are no mechanical fasteners. It's all held together with 1-inch oak pegs.
Wow.
And so you have a mortise and tenon joint where the mortise slides in, and then the wood peg is what holds it together. So we, if you want to see it, I've got some brochures downstairs. You can grab brochures, and it'll give you where to find it. But if anybody does Facebook, just go to friendsofhaumersonspond.com or Friends of Haumerson's Pond, and you can see a lot of the stuff. When we put this together, our barn raising day was so cool. Because if you look at all the big beams in this section here, there are 4 sections. And these were all assembled down on the ground. You know, we took the winter and milled them all, and this building had never been assembled. And we had all the pieces, and we hoped it went together. We had a barn raising day, and a crane came and would fly in these big sections, and we put it together, and in 4 hours, we had the whole frame assembled.
Oh my God.
It was cool. And then the wood on the roof and the sidewalls, that was milled out of a sawmill outside of Wausau called Burnham, Wisconsin. I forget their name now right off the top of my head. But they milled that wood to our specs. And a really, really neat thing, look at the floor and tell me what's unique about the floor.
It's got names of streets on
Well, the
them.
streets,
Yeah, we have streets in it. There are 32 different streets here. And what this is when we were up at this sawmill interviewing the guy, you know, seeing if we wanted him to cut our wood, we're looking at flooring. We want to have a good flooring, and I got this wild idea. So I excused myself from the meeting, went out and called Kent Smith, the head of the DPW, and I said, Kent, what are you guys doing with all the ash trees in Fort Atkinson when they come down? He says, well, we're taking them to compost site, people are cutting it up for firewood. I said, could we use some of those good logs, you know, to do our trim in the building? He said, absolutely, that'd get us off to it, because a lot of people didn't think that the emerald ash borer problem was really an issue. They didn't think their trees were gonna die.
Yeah.
And this is all the streets, like Wilcox Street, that's where our wood came from here, in Foster Street, so 32 different streets. We went out, my son's a forester, and so he happened to be in town, and we went, I asked this Kent, I said, when are you guys starting? Because timing was a big thing to us. He said, literally tomorrow. So it worked out, the stars aligned, and then I had a friend of mine who has a portable sawmill who came from Dousman, and we used volunteers, and in 6 days we built up 8,000 board feet of wood, and we had this flooring made, all of our trim is made from this, and we still have a bunk of wood for other things that we're going to do inside here. So it's just kind of fun to have that knowledge of where it came from.
Yeah.
It is.
And then where your elbow is right there, some people might notice those pieces that hold those railings together.
Yeah.
Those are actually from James Way Foundry. Those are some barn, you know, from stanchions inside a barn, and we had those cleaned up and used those for building our stairway. And we literally built everything in here other than the stairway. The stairway we contracted with a company out of DeForest to make the stairway. But like, yeah, the hardware on our doors, we made all that ourselves. Those big arch doors, we made those in my shop. And, you know, the whole thing has been built literally from scratch.
Very cool. So how is the building used now, other than for skating?
Okay, good question. You know, we have the skating, we have our different events here, but in order for us to staff it, we have to raise the money for staffing the building. So the building rents out. We rent it out really, really cheap for birthday parties, graduation parties, small weddings. Anybody who this venue might work for, they're welcome to rent it. And we didn't, you know, because the city literally gave this to themselves, I couldn't see charging people a lot of money to do that. What we want to do is break even. We want to have enough money at the end of the year to have somebody to staff the building when it's skating season. So what we do is it's $25 increments. If you're going to have a party of 25 people, it's $25 to rent it for half a day. If you're going to have it all day, it'll cost you $50. If you're going to have a 200-person wedding, it'll be $200 for half a day, so $400 for the whole day, which for that kind of money, it's a pretty good venue. You know.
So I'm just curious, if people were having parties here, like, can you serve alcohol on the premises?
Yep. Yeah, actually, there was a party here last night. Yeah. I came down here early because I was nervous that, you know, and I believe it was a class reunion.
No, it was a group came back, I think they graduated in '84, the date might be wrong, but they were a group that sang together, and there was a high school teacher in music or choir or something that was retiring. Ryan is his name, I don't know who he was. But so people came to celebrate his retirement.
Oh,
Somebody
cool.
flew in from LA, somebody flew
Wow.
in from
Awesome.
Chicago, and
Yeah.
I just wandered down trying to find Haumerson's Pond and stumbled upon it.
Yeah. Yeah, so they were here till
Great idea.
after midnight, I heard. And, you know, it just gets used like that. And then, you know, we've got enough money in our coffers now if we have equal staffing next year. My goal is to raise enough money that we could have somebody here on Saturdays and open up the building. I would love to open the doors and just let people come through here, but we've just been warned by so many people that if we do that, somebody's gonna, give somebody the opportunity to do something really stupid.
I heard there was some graffiti or some
Yeah.
kind of
That one kind of got,
vandalism.
that got blown up by social media a little bit. It was a middle school kid who tried to act like a gang member, and it was in a area of the park, not even on the trail, that he put some markings on a tree.
Oh, so it wasn't even anywhere near the building?
No, it was, shoot, half a mile away.
Oh,
And so we, you know, but the neat thing is that happened and people really got upset. People got very upset, and, you know, we tried to, you know, just calm down, you know, this will be okay. We had a guy from Jefferson who does sandblasting and corn blasting, I guess it is. So he brought his equipment down that day and took it off of the tree. He safely removed it from the tree, so we didn't get any copy, and that's the way it goes here. It's really, you know, the only other vandalism that we've had here is somebody took a garbage can and dumped it into the pond when there was just a little bit of ice. And so, you know, it took us 20 minutes to clean it up, but it's just that pain in the butt.
Yeah.
But, you know,
It's so disrespectful, like,
Not really?
you know, but all in all, you know, the kids have really adopted this. We had, 2 years ago now, at our night ski event, I had a little girl come up to me, Nicole Liebman, and what's her friend's name? Not that it matters. Olivia Granick. These two girls came, Mr. Mold, we want to meet you. I'm like, why do you want to meet me? This is goofy. And Olivia's dad was there, and they said, we're in Girl Scouts, and we're working on our silver project. And we want to form a group called the Kids of Haumerson's Pond. And I got a tear in my eye, you know? And so they form this group, and they come down and they have their own events here. When we have events, like when we light our trail for our night ski event, they're the ones in charge of lighting up all of our luminaries around the trail. And they formed a club at the middle school. And it's the Kids of Haumerson's Pond, and they have a following, and you know, it's really neat, you know, and they take ownership here. And it's been fun with the kids. And the bench that you're sitting on, there's a couple benches like that. Wood burned in the back, those were made by St. Paul's Boy Pioneer Group, which is kind of like a
Boy Scout.
like a Boy Scout group. And those young men took this old lumber, and they, you know, with the help of adults, they assembled these, and they made, I think, 6 benches for us, and all their initials are burned into it, kind of like all your initials were burned into the side of that building over there. And they have these benches, and that is their ownership to this. And they come down here and have meetings, and it gets used. And it's just so neat. When I saw them putting their initials in, they were like, is that okay? It's like, absolutely, you know. I think that's so cool, you know, because that's their mark.
But what's really cool about it is they built them in the same style as the building with the corner tennis joints and the pegs and everything.
Will this have to be sealed? Because I keep thinking of people.
Yep, no, this actually has a wax sealer on it that keeps it looking natural.
Okay, somebody spills, because you'll do them.
And-
It's
Somebody
like-
spilled last
like
night.
red
It's
Kool-Aid
natural
or-
wine.
Yeah. You know, and that stuff happens. That's part of the flavor of a building, you know. And, you know, it's funny because we're talking about this, and I'm thinking about that old building, and I wish I had one of the boards with my dad's. And he'd skated in that old green building in the 40s, 30s and 40s, and his initials were all over that thing. And I wish I had a board with his initials, and I'm thinking, well, it'd be kind of neat. And then we get to thinking all the work in here. I hope nobody does it here, but, you know, but it'll come. The building is literally designed to be built to be here for 200 years. You know, these buildings last forever, provided you have good roofs on them and all that.
Nice.
So tell me about this, what do these numbers mean?
Okay.
Is that how much those beams cost?
Yeah, what those are our donation levels. And I'm in the process now, and this was to give people an idea. So like this one up here, the tie beam. Okay, so the tie beam is anybody who donated between $10,000 and $25,000. So people that donated to that level get that size plaque, and it's going up on the wall. And we're in the process of making those plaques right now. They're actually at the guy who's laser engraving all of them. He's volunteering his time to laser engrave the plaques. And
So they're gonna be posted up there?
yeah, they'll be posted right up here. And so they're named after all the different posts. Like that's called a gird. These here are called girds that the siding nails to. So the different levels, go on up. So people get their recognition, because it was a big project. The fundraising thing, I had never done anything like that yet. And so we jump into it and off and running. And we, a lot of people who did fundraising were giving me advice, and he said, Steve, go to the corporations first, get that big anchor in there and do that. And I get out of the box and I'm thinking, no, I don't want that. I want this to be a referendum. I want to go to the people first, because if somebody was going to give us $25 and they see that Jones Dairy Farm gave us $25,000, they're going to be like, well, what's this?
Right.
But we did, majority of our fundraising came in $25 and $100 increments. And we did all of the fundraising at the grassroots level first. And then the corporations came to us. We didn't have to go to them. They'd call us and say, Jones Dairy Farm, Philip Jones says, hey, Steve, I've been seeing this thing in the paper. Come on down and talk to me. So we went down there and chatted with them, and he made us a nice donation. We live in a great community. We really do.
Yeah.
Whenever there's an ask, before skating season got started, we're down here trying to get everything all ready, because this was our first true winter of skating. And we had a knock on the door, and this guy came in, Nick Golich. And he said, Steve, my mom, she was the biggest hockey fan in the world, and us kids all played hockey, and we moved up here from Chicago and played hockey on the pond and did this and that. And he says, you guys have any hockey equipment? I said, no. We've had a couple sticks donated and stuff. And he said, well, come on out. He went out and bought $700 worth of hockey equipment, sticks and pucks and everything, and said, here you go. It's for you guys, in memory of his mother. It's just things like that happen. We call it the magic of Haumerson Pond.
So once you have all the plaques done and up on the wall, are you gonna have like a barbecue or something for all the people?
Yes, yeah, we did a grand opening last August, was our grand opening, and we had a preview night with all of our donors and contractors who came to that. And we will absolutely, sorry about that.
No, that's.
Oh, that's you. Good. You got my ring done. But, and we did that already for the people that did this, so now we're starting on fundraising for parking lot, and the parking lot's $90 grand to put in a parking lot and get it paved and everything like that. So actually have a meeting down here with a donor on Monday, so we'll see where that goes.
When you have parties out here, how many people do you allow to come?
The building, the capacity of the building by the building code is 207 people.
Wow.
That's a lot of people.
And that's up and down, and that's not considering tables and everything. So what we do with people who are gonna use this for like a wedding venue, we tell them this wasn't designed to be a wedding venue. This was designed to be a warming house. Make sure you go down there and walk through it and make sure it'll do what you want it to do. My nephew got married here, and they had a blast. It was a winter wedding. They did it. We have an agreement with Two Rivers Bicycle. They've been just great friends of us through the whole project, and they staff the building here and do ice skate rentals out of the pond. And so that gives us a responsible adult here, to do those things. And they kick back to us close to $300 in skate rentals. Their first weekend that they rented skates, they went out and they bought 25 pair of skates, and about an hour and a half they were all gone. So they went out and doubled their amount of skates, and they just loved it. They had a blast here. So they had their skate rentals up here, and we let people go nuts. And when somebody has a party here, like my nephew's wedding, it was at a time when we were closed. But we just talked to Two Rivers, and they stayed here and rented skates to everybody. The whole wedding party was all skating. Yeah, it was really neat. Those pictures are on Facebook. So yeah, there have been a couple weddings here, but you're not going to have a 400-person wedding here and have everybody sit down. That just isn't going to happen.
Is it heated just with the fireplace?
No, downstairs in the concrete is in-floor radiant heat. Okay. And so that heats the floor up, and the bathrooms are 2 bathrooms on the backside. Those are available 365 days a year. And so those are always available. And then in here, it keeps it pretty warm. We are, our plumber, we ran out of time last year, but we do have old cast iron radiators that are gonna be placed up here to get more heat upstairs. Because we did find last winter that we need to do that. And we've got a high efficiency boiler in our mechanical chase, and that's what creates the heat. It's a very efficient heat. The city was really surprised at how inexpensive it was to heat it last winter. You know, it's because of all the mass. You know, we've got a lot of concrete down there. Once you get that warmed up, it doesn't take much to continue to heat it. But the fireplace is really nice because with fire, people see fire, they're warm.
I saw him go that way. It's a blue heron.
So the pizza oven is gonna be outside in a separate
Yeah,
structure?
pizza oven will be, well, we're debating either over here by the pond. Our little amphitheater where that little kind of ugly shed is, that's where our garage is gonna be, so the amphitheater will be pointing this way. We're probably gonna put it over here because there's another deck, observation deck that you can get to out here and outdoor.
On this upper level.
Yeah, and so it'll probably be down between there and the pond, because we're still massaging that plan a little bit, but all this parking space where you guys are is gonna be green space. And then up in that, what was a hockey rink that never really worked, that's gonna be parking. And parking will come in on Zida and then go out on 4th Street. If you guys remember as kids, the bottleneck that was always down here on the end of 4th Street with people coming and going. So we're gonna make the parking lot kind of one way where you come in there and go out that way. And
That would make sense.
yeah, and that way we don't have any headlights shining in all the houses over there because they're always going the opposite direction. And then we're gonna berm that too and put some trees to shield
I was
that.
wondering if we're gonna put some kind of fencing up there
Yeah.
for the locals and not have to.
Well, we try.
And that sheds then is gonna be up higher, so that won't get flooded.
Correct, that shed has to be out of the floodplain.
Yeah. Nice.
Well, this is quite a project.
It's been 5 years of my life. You know, but it's worth it. You know, you don't know how many class reunions we do. You know, we do, 4 or 5 class reunions every summer. People come in, and it's really fun. We had one that they actually did their reunion here. They did a Friday night get-together, and they rented it, and they had fun. And we also did a fundraising. When we were fundraising for it, we had a little battle, if people caught it, where we had a battle of the classes. The class of 62 are the ones that won it.
Joe's class?
Yeah, they donated the most money from his class. And then we did something else. They did something else and had extra money and donated that.
Yep, to a security system. So we're right now in the process of getting internet down here. And the reason we have the upstairs is when you guys were kids, you either walked here from home and skated and had to walk home, or I was a country kid. My mom would load up the neighbor kids, dump us off here at 11 o'clock in the morning and come back at 9 o'clock at night and take us home and not worry about us. Parents aren't that way anymore. We live in a different world. So that's why this is up here with all these wonderful windows. You can sit here and see the whole ice. Moms can sit up here and enjoy. And you're separate from the kids, but you can still hear if somebody's getting murdered down there. So,
Or if somebody goes on the river and falls in, I don't know if we ever did that.
who skated on the river? We were never supposed to do that. yeah, exactly.
And we never did.
Yeah. I wouldn't go on the river. That's dangerous. It's funny. It's funny how it changes. I live out in Hebron, just off the river by Burnt Village Park, and when we have those winters with no snow and ice, I'll skate from there here. It's a beautiful skate on the Bark River. It winds around so much you pass yourself 4 times on the way in, but it's really a nice skate.
You mean you can get over all the trees that are in the river?
It's clean here.
Oh, it is now?
Yep.
'Cause we kayaked it a couple years ago, and man, we had more fun going under, through, and over.
Well, let us know. I'm with a group that we clear sections of river. Actually, next weekend I'm supposed to be out, but I don't think I will be able to do
I
it.
don't think so.
But where we go out, we cleaned, 2 weeks ago, we cleaned from Cushman's Mill to Highway 106.
Wow.
Went and cleared it out. Another group of good guys. It's just really neat. You put out the call, and we had like 8 guys with chainsaws and kayaks and canoes, and we went and made sure that you could get through there.
Are we too old to ice skate again?
Never.
No, never.
Never.
I don't think my skates will fit.
A helmet.
They have rentals.
I still have my skates. That's the thing. I'm afraid to see if I can squish my foot in. I don't think I will.
Well,
Matt and I got married on
If you
ice.
don't-
Married on ice at the
If you
beginning
don't
of
want
my.
to ice skate, we
Big
do
formal
have a
wedding
new
dress.
thing you guys might like.
On ice.
Trying to
My
balance.
goal is to get people down here doing things, so
Like
there's,
gone.
people have heard of curling.
No, I don't
It was great.
Curling,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
the Olympic event with
I
the
live
big
in the
stones.
desert.
Oh,
They
Well,
have curling clubs in Milwaukee.
yep, but we've
Stone
got there's in Heartland, we found a group of people who do Bavarian curling. It's called ice stock. Rather than having a 33-pound granite stone
Yeah.
and sliding on the ice, this is like playing bocce ball on ice. And we made stocks to play ice stock. So what my goal is to have either Tuesday or Wednesday nights, have a bunch of us older adults come out and play ice stock and have a little league going, and then come upstairs for a little
Libation?
something like that. Yeah. You know, just to get people out, because you need to get outside in the winter to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And so we introduced it this year at our night ski event, and I never saw my stocks until the end of the day, you know, and they're only 12 pounds, and if you ever play bocce ball, it's a lot of fun. So it literally is bocce ball on ice, and that's what the Bavarians do. So we're going to be doing that here, you know, midweek sometime. So if you're interested, get a hold of me next winter, and we'll be playing that.
That sounds cool.
Thank you for your passion and for your
Yes.
time.
I don't sit still well. You know, this stinking thing is making me sit still and driving me nuts. It's only been a couple days, but oh well.
This too shall pass.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. You know, with all the dumb things I've done in my life, this is my first broken bone ever. So, you know.
At least it's a removable cast.
Well, right now I get surgery on Tuesday, and then yeah, I get. They said my screws were loose, and so they have to.
Don't have that.
Why are they waiting so long to do the surgery?
It was kind of a timing thing. 4th of July,
No.
disconnected phone number. There's been a lot of, you know, because I did this a week ago Friday, and I still had 2 days of a canoe trip to do, so I did a couple days of a canoe trip, and then I got into Ely, Minnesota, and we were having fun there. It'd be stupid to be on vacation to go to Ely, Minnesota hospital, so I waited until I got home, and well, I got home and we unpacked, and my wife said, "You're going now." Probably a good idea.
Well, when I broke my leg, I had to do some crutches and they nearly killed me.
Yeah, this is,
Crutches.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I'm struggling, but you know.
Maybe
we'll
they'll
get there.
give you one of those kneelers. My sister had a scooter that she
Yep.
kneeled on.
Oh, yeah, that
She
works.
said, you know what gets hard? Is the foot that pushes down. My daughter and I had, my son put a basket on the front for so she could put something in the basket and scoot over somewhere else. And,
There you go.
Good thinking.
yep,
So,
they didn't have scooters when we were kids like that.
well, I used, but the first 3 days I used canoe paddles, and then that wasn't necessarily a tool of choice. One of the guys said, "Well, we got a saw, we can short up your canoe paddle and make a crutch." I said, "I'm not going to ruin 2 good canoe paddles."
They're not cheap either.
Yeah.
Crutch, I think.
The old way, so you better whittle it.
Yeah, they're oh, well. Now, I do have, down at the bottom of the steps, I do have Haumerson Pond brochures where you can, you know, some of the history is there. And if any, I always have to throw in the pitch, if anybody ever wants to donate, we will accept your donation.
Okay.
You know, because so much of it is run by donations. And if you want to pass a hat for the class of '68, you know, we do that too, because we got several classes going up that donated, you know, different funds.
Okay.
Great, thank you very much.
Well, you guys are welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for all your work out there.
Yeah, really.
You know, it's not work if you know, I just enjoyed every minute of this. And I made so many good friends. You know, guys that came out here, we worked all winter. Last winter, we worked here, no, not last winter, the winter before. We worked here all winter, you know, getting stuff done. We got the roof on just before the and then we're putting siding on and everything. It just made
Metal roof.
good friends, you know, doing it.
Quite a challenge working on all this stuff.
Yeah, there were two of us in Mine Heights, and so we had a lot of people handing us stuff from the ground, but we went out and rented a lift so we could get up there. And, that's high, we were putting those beams on up there. Get up in the air.
Oh, yeah. All these beams, the way you got them notched in, reminds me of all the old farms I grew up on.
it's all the sign.
The only thing that's missing is the cities.
Yeah. We did have a piece in here one day, but,
It's right next to.
yeah. Well, this is designed exactly, this is how old farms were built. This is
Oh,
not
the
a classic farm.
The sign temple.
And I can't believe how many have collapsed.
Yeah.
I was raised
So those farms will last
I was
forever.
whatever
They
the
want to keep a roof on. Actually, I just,
I remember voting that
last
once.
Tuesday, I was supposed
You
to, my
asked me to
son
be like the person trying to.
is getting one down, looking back up. So he's actually, pouring concrete today.
Yeah,
On
I
that,
was-
the old hand view and the old barn, over on County End.
Yeah,
But
I had to get permission from my mom.
he's got it there, he's got it there, it's kind of a fixed area to a house.
Big ones.
You didn't have to pull the coat or anything.
No,
I gotta go
you
outside
really
and get some
weren't supposed to
pictures.
go
There you
into
go.
the Masonic temple.
Yeah, I mean, they have a.
Here, wait, can I get a picture of you guys?
But I didn't.
I gotta get a picture and post it on our Facebook page.
Okay.